Welcome back, everyone. The newer definition of talent management does not limit itself to performance matrix and talent analytics. It is also about upskilling and nurturing everything that an employee brings to the table. It's now time for an invigorating keynote dialogue on the new age of talent management through the lens of agile talent mobility and talent marketplace with Rohit Chennamaneni, co-founder Darwinbox, and Mervyn Dinnen, HR talent trends author and analyst. Welcome, Rohit and Mervyn. The frame is all yours.
Hey Mervyn,
Good morning, Rohit.
good morning to you as well. What a great day for this session. We have a very pertinent topic that we have to talk about. So let me jump right into it as a topic. So we want to talk about what talent transformation means today, right? And I want to paraphrase it to say, in the new world of work, right? And in quotes, the new world of work. What does talent management look like, and what does it mean for you? Would love to get your thoughts on how you're seeing this play out.
Thank you, Rohit. I have to say, I have a book, as I think people might know, coming out in March. And in fact, there is a chapter on talent management in there, which I wrote. It's a co-authored book. And I start off with the point that in the modern world of work, talent management is probably the area where HR can have the greatest influence. We know that the world of work is changing. There's been reports from kind of the World Economic Forum, places like that, about 50% of skills needing to be upgraded in the next 5 years. And people look for the organizations they work for to help them in that, to support them, to help them develop. We know from most research that's come out around the world over the last 2-3 years that the number one thing that employees look for when they join a company is the opportunity to grow, develop, and learn new skills. And I think there's this general move from what we call job-based HR to skills-based HR, where we're looking at developing skills and capabilities to equip our employees for the future world of work and for whatever challenges might come their way. It's very much an important part of that, and understanding that this is an ongoing process. And if they're not getting the development they want, then the chances are they'll leave, as we can see from the talk of the Great Resignation, which has become a bit of a cliche. But one of the main reasons given is people don't feel engaged. They don't feel they're getting the development they want.
Got it. And if you think about right, in this context of remote work and a global workforce, right, they're multicultural, multi-ethnical, multilingual, right, like a wide variety of things that as organizations or HR leaders need to take care of. Right. How do you bring in skilling into this mix? Right. So you spoke a lot about skill and skill-based, and instead of job level based or position-based structures, skill-based structures. How do you interplay that between this multi context that everybody is moving towards, right? Darwinbox as an organization has offices in 11 countries, right? And how do you interlay skills into this mix is something that would be interesting for us to understand.
I think that most research I've seen, kind of an analysis I've seen, shows that the individual workers want access to learning and knowledge as and when they need it. So not at times set by the organization. They want kind of some form of asynchronous learning where they come up against something, they have a challenge, they want to know more about how to develop and understand more about their capabilities. And so they want to be able to plug into a learning system as and when they want it. So it starts with having learning available, with information available, and whether or not this is signed up to a learning management system, which is providing constant content, whether it is enrolling them in third-party, I suppose, courses that they can do in their own time or during work time. It's giving them access to knowledge, and I suppose creating an environment in which they can actually share with others in the organization who are trying to learn the same skills, who maybe have developed skills that they are trying to develop. So it's much more collaborative. It's like, I suppose, what we call a culture of learning. It's kind of every organization is a culture of learning, because if employees are not learning, they're standing still, and if they're standing still, they're going backwards effectively in the modern world of work. One thing that has happened over the last couple of years, with obviously a growth of remote and hybrid work, is that most of this learning has been done remotely, and I've been involved in various bits of research around how effective this has been. It's actually, on the whole, been fairly effective. People have felt that they've been able to get access to the knowledge that they need. Where it has fallen down a little bit is I suppose, areas like performance management, the kind of one-to-one meetings where remote conversations don't necessarily work for the employee, particularly if the conversation is around an area that might be a bit negative for them. But in the main, most employees feel that they have had access to the information and learning they need. Obviously, if they haven't, then they're going to be moving on, which I mean, I think the most important, having a culture of learning, the most important thing other than that is a culture of mobility, which I think you're probably going to ask me about in a moment. So,
yeah, no, I was going to go there, Mervyn, as well. And as you mentioned, right, I think in terms of learning, the only thing that we're missing is probably the whole role modeling and performance feedback conversations, which are one-on-one. Being as effective as they used to be before. But in the other aspects of learning, which is remote, etc., there is an option to record, which makes it easy to access at any point of time that they feel comfortable in their own style. And right, going back to the point that you made around talent mobility itself, right? There is a whole theme of talent marketplace which is coming up in a big way in organizations, which is skill-based, right? How are you seeing this play out? And you brought up the skill-based jobs and skill-based teams in the first part of what you said. How do you see this play out, right? Internal mobility within organizations playing out as a marketplace based on demands and supply. How is that playing out in what you're seeing?
It's playing out slowly, but I think most organizations now understand, or hopefully are beginning to understand, the need for it. I mean, if I take a trip back in time, obviously many years ago, that was the way everything happened. It was the job for life. You joined an organization as a trainee, and you rose through the ranks, and you became a manager, and then you retired. Whereas, of course, over the last 20, 30 years, it's probably been very different. The only way to build a career has tended to be, not always, to move around different organizations. And I appreciate around the world there are cultural differences. So for some, it's still a job for life effectively, and others, the only way to get ahead is to keep moving around. And that it leads to a culture where we don't really invest in our people. The importance of talent mobility is, if people are joining us, they want the chance to grow and develop and learn new skills. The way to underline that is to give them the flexibility to move around an organization. Take on new challenges and things like that. And I suppose there's two things to say there. One of them is that's cultural. So I was involved in a couple of research projects last year around this area. One of the things that came through loud and clear is a lot of managers don't like to lose their best people to other parts of the business. So they almost like they don't make their performance data visible. They tend to hold on to them. Some senior people, some directors and senior managers don't feel that it's wrong to effectively, I suppose, choose some people for promotion or for a sideways move. And it looks like favoritism. And so they prefer to bring in somebody from outside. There's a stat that's been around for a couple of years about roughly 2/3 of people, I think it's in the US, say it's easier to find a new job in another company than it is to change jobs in the one that they're in. And another part of that is that there's not this availability of information. They don't know what roles are being recruited in their own organization. I think on the other side of that, what we have is this move to skills and the understanding of adjacent skills. So if somebody hasn't, I suppose, if you look at a job description, these are the skills I need, these are the competencies I need. This person has most of them, but not all of them. historically, we've gone outside to find someone who ticks all the boxes. But what we're trying to do now is recruit for potential, is to say, well, okay, this will be a great learning opportunity for somebody, this person here who's got all that, and this is the chance to then move them on where they can learn more. And I think that is why, I suppose, the talent marketplace, I suppose the internal talent marketplace and the talent intelligence data, so that we know exactly what they're capable of, what they've learned, what they've done, what their achievements are, how they're performing. We have external data as well, where we can benchmark against other industries, other sectors, other organizations in our sector. That kind of information helps us create a much easier flow around the business.
And do you think the cultural nuances are the reason why it is slow? And you mentioned slow, or are there things, those are quick wins, which our audience can take away to do quickly to get this started off in their organizations?
I think that it is. I mean, a lot of the issues we talk about in HR often come down to culture of the organization, and sometimes it's just how things have developed. I think that certainly from what I've seen and read over the last few months, if I use the cliche again, great resignation, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about, a lot of organizations, I suppose, admitting that people are leaving to do jobs that they could have done had they stayed, but they didn't know those jobs were available. And I think that's the key thing. It's openness. It's being open around the business so that everybody in the organization knows what their opportunities are. And we're willing to look at something slightly outside the box. I mentioned adjacent skills earlier, and there's quite a bit of work been done on this by people like McKinsey, Gartner, I think Burson as well, where you look at, I suppose, an easy example, a marketing manager. Yeah, we need a new marketing manager. So the first thing is, let's go out and hire a marketing manager from somewhere else. Yeah, we've got somebody who's supports the marketing manager. They're not ready for that job yet. So the first question is, why not? And how can we get them ready for that job? How can we support them and enable them in that? The second one is, we need someone who's done this before. And of course, the modern workplace thinks, well, why do we need someone who's done this before? You know, what skills? Let's break down the skills, the taxonomy, if you like, break down the skills of a marketing manager. Take away, has run marketing campaigns for a company like us before, and look at the core skills. And you'll have people in the organization who match those. And I have seen people over the years move from HR to marketing, move from IT to marketing, move from marketing to IT, because they've got a basic skill set which aligns, and we can support them in learning the bits they need to get up to speed. And investing in your people is the way to keep people, is the way to retain people. You know, people are engaged and they enjoy working for you, and they think you're a great company to work for if they think you're investing in them.
Absolutely. And some of this is brought out more transparently, more equivocally, when there is a technology platform, right, that enables some of this, whether it is around information, whether it is around what are the paths that are available, what are the growth paths available, etc. What do you see in your interactions with HR leaders in terms of technology as an enabler? What role is it playing in accelerating this marketplace journey or the new way of talent management?
I think there are a lot of products coming on the market. A lot of the larger tech companies are, particularly those around learning, are bringing in the kind of, I suppose, intelligence, you know, to their products that organizations will need. I think that the mobility itself kind of lends itself to something, it's quite personal for individuals. So I think it's better if it's one of, I suppose, the small, I don't want to start naming names of tech organizations, obviously, but I mean, there are some up and coming organizations, platforms, which kind of enable this and make it easier. I think the important thing is about data. It's ease of access to data. It's ease of interpretation of data. The important thing I often say is there's huge global investment, unbelievably huge global investment in HR and work technology. And yet all the research shows, you know, employee engagement's really low. We've got a great resignation. Candidate experience is poor. We've got the tech. We just need to ensure that we use it for the benefit of our people and to give them a great experience and to help support and enable them.
Absolutely. Our mantra has been to provide something that you can hyper personalize at scale, right? At an employee level, like you said. Understanding each individual and their aspiration might be very specific to that individual. So we're on top of the hour, Mervyn. So any advice for the HR leaders in the audience today in terms of how do we make this faster, right? Like the part where you said the whole talent marketplace is slow. How can we make it faster? How can we get to the next phase of talent management much faster than we are doing today?
I think, I suppose it comes back to the word I've used before a couple of times, culture. I think we really have to look at internally, are we a place where people can thrive? Are we a place, can we hire people and they can develop and achieve whatever they want? And some people might not want to achieve that. We're going to hire people who don't want to go up the ladder. They don't want to develop and grow. They're doing a job for 5 years, say. But it's understanding that when we hire people, it was interesting. I was involved in a piece of research 2 years ago, looking at the hiring process, but most importantly, how we address the opportunity to learn, if you like, to learn and develop within an organization during the hiring process. At what point do we have the conversations with a candidate? Who has the conversations? And what we found is that nobody takes responsibility for those conversations during hiring, and nobody really takes responsibility once they've joined. It's kind of, it might be the hiring manager, it might be HR, it might be L&D, it might be a director who talks about opportunities if it's raised during the hiring process. And so my phrase, I suppose, for this year to HR is always be onboarding. The onboarding is the key part of the talent management cycle, where we take somebody from an interested candidate who wants to join us to being a successful and fully productive employee. And it continues, it goes on. And we're constantly, if you like, onboarding, a bit like a personal relationship. Once you're together, that's not the end of it. You don't stop doing things for each other. And it has to be a little bit like that, I think, for HR within the organization. Make sure that employees know that the support's always there, that we're behind them, that the opportunities to develop and grow are there, and make that very transparent. They can see what their opportunities are, and they can see a timeline. They can look at other people in the organization and see that they've been able to achieve it as well.
Wow, what a way. Always be onboarding. I think that's a great finishing to the first session today. Thank you so much, Mervyn, for doing this. And look forward to your book, which is coming in March, and all the best for that.
Thank you. I've enjoyed the chat. Thank you for having me
here.
Thank you so much, Rohit and Mervyn. I thoroughly enjoyed this insightful dialogue. Thank you for keeping it so relevant and meaningful. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick update. There's a leaderboard feature on this platform that's already on. The leaderboard is where you will find your points earned, and how you can earn that. You can earn by inviting your friends to the virtual summit, sharing the summit content, rating the sessions, visiting our partner booths, downloading the useful content, watching informative videos, and taking part in surveys or chatting with our experts. At the end of the event, you'll get attractive gifts on the basis of these points earned during the summit. So keep engaging and keep winning.